Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. I'm Pastor John Woodin, and this is a ministry of Hollywood Faith Christian Center in beautiful Hollywood, Florida. We welcome you this morning. We're going to start today in Mark chapter 5. This is a great story here. It's the woman with the issue of blood. We all know that story very well. But she's been suffering for 12 years. She's been struggling for 12 years, and she's gone to many doctors, and nobody can make her better. And so she has been unclean. She's been bleeding for 12 years. So that means she's had no friends. Her family has not been around her. She has been alone for 12 years. Well, she is determined in her heart that if she could just touch the hem of Jesus' garment. Now, think about this for just a minute. She's on the ground, and she's recognizing the hem of his garment because the tzitzis are hanging down. He's got a very unique garment. She clearly knows it's him, but she knows that if she just can reach out, if I can just push in, if I can just press a little bit, if I can just get to him, I know I'll be made whole. And she does. She touches him. And immediately the fountain of the blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed. And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that power had gone out of him, turned around the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" Well, the disciples are saying, "Lord, there's such a crowd here, people pushing and shoving. Who knows who touched you?" He said, "No, somebody touched me with a touch of faith. Somebody wanted to get healed. Somebody needed to get touched." And I can tell you, I have felt that touch when somebody is tracking you while you're praying for people, ministering at the altar. You can feel when somebody says, "I want to be touched." And there's this draw on you that you just know that they want this. Well, she wanted it, and finally she tells him who it was, that it's her, and he changes her name. See, her life was transformed. She was an outcast. She's unclean. He changes her name. In the Greek word that's used is daughter, but can be translated daughter or married woman, a respected woman. And he says, "Go and go. Your faith has made you whole." Sozo. "Go in peace and be healed of your afflictions." It's made you saved. It is a spiritual healing. But her life was transformed from just one touch of the Master, one touch from Jesus. In John 8, we see the same thing with the woman caught in adultery. They throw her in front of Jesus. She's on the ground. He walks them through the process and basically says, "He who is without sin cast the first stone," because they were going to stone her. She got caught in adultery, caught in the very act. One by one, they all dropped their stones, and finally there's nobody there. And he says to a woman, "Where are your accusers?" And she has said, "Has no one condemned you?" And she said, "Lord, there's nobody." But he changes her name again to respected woman, to married woman. He says, "Go and sin no more." And the same thing, Mary Magdalene was delivered of 7 demons. Luke chapter 8 tells us that. She's delivered of 7 demons. Now, we don't know exactly what she had and what the deal was. The Catholic Church, somewhere back in the Middle Ages, declared her to be a prostitute. There's no biblical evidence for that. In fact, the Bible does not say that. All we know is that she was delivered of 7 demons. And so she is often depicted with red hair, which signifies a prostitute. But we don't know that. And then but Jesus has delivered her, and then she becomes the first person that Jesus reveals himself to after the resurrection. Now, this is amazing because as far as a woman couldn't even give testimony in court, she was considered unreliable. Jesus chooses Mary Magdalene to reveal himself, and before he's even taken to heaven, he says, she goes to hug him, and he goes, no, don't touch me. Don't touch me, because I am pure resurrection power, and I will just destroy you. Don't touch me till I go to my Father and I come back. It's just amazing. But she is the first person to see the risen Christ. Now, here's in Mark chapter 1, we see a leper, and he's kneeling down in front of him saying, if you are willing, you can make me clean. And Jesus puts his hands on a leper. Now, leprosy was considered at that time contagious. You didn't come in contact with lepers. They had to be outside the camp. They also had to warn people that they were coming near so they wouldn't accidentally get leprosy. And Jesus, moved with compassion, stretched out his hand and touched him. And he says, I'm willing to touch you, be cleansed. And of course, he's healed. So one encounter with Jesus changes the man's life. Now, Jesus tells him, don't tell anybody. I don't know how you get away with that. Just go to the priest and show him that you're healed. Because the people that knew that he was full of leprosy now will know that he's not. In Mark chapter 10, we have blind Bartimaeus. Now Bartimaeus is begging along the side of the road, and he hears that Jesus is coming, and he starts shouting to get his attention. Now the crowd, of course, tells him to be quiet, don't bother the master, but he shouts even louder that he knows that if Jesus gets by him, there's no hope to be healed. And finally, Jesus calls him over and says, hey, bring that guy here. And he gets over there and he says, what do you want? And I'm going to tell you, sometimes if Jesus asks us, what do you want? I don't know that we would know the one thing. But this man knew, Bartimaeus knew, and he says, I want, Lord, that I may receive my sight. But that's really not what it says. It says in the Greek that I may look up, and that he would then be able to see into the heavens, that he wants a spiritual healing. And Jesus then says, go your way. Your faith has made you sozo, healed, saved, whole. And immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus. Now it says on the road, but that's really not accurate. The translation is in the way. And the way was considered what early Christians called each other. They were followers of the way. Jesus is the way. And so it says he followed Jesus in the way. So in other words, he just joined his band of followers and began serving in the house of the Lord. Suddenly, Daniel chapter 10, a hand touched me, which made me tremble on my knees and on the palms of my hands. And he said to me, O Daniel, man greatly beloved, understood the words when I speak to you, and stand upright, for I have now been sent to you. While he was speaking, I stood trembling. This is the Lord touching the prophet Daniel. Do not fear, Daniel, from the first day that you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before your God. Your words were heard, and I have come because of your words. In Revelation, we have the same thing. John the Revelator is being touched by an encounter with the risen Christ. And he says, I fell over as though dead. And he said, I fell at the feet as dead. In other words, he fell out in the spirit. But he laid his right hand on me, saying to me, do not be afraid. I am the first and the last. Wow. One touch from the Master can make you whole. God bless you. See you again next time.